Captain Marcus Chen stared at the repair estimate on his datapad and cursed under his breath. The Wanderer's fortune had seen better days, and the latest engine malfunction would cost him nearly everything he had saved. He sat in the grimy spaceport bar on Kepler Station, nursing a drink that tasted like battery acid mixed with regret. The station bustled with travelers from a dozen different species. Tall, crystalline Vorthon traders haggled over shipping rates. Four-armed Kalani mechanics advertised their services with holographic displays, but Marcus kept his eyes on his drink, calculating how many more cargo runs he'd need to afford the repairs. "Excuse me, human captain?" The voice was soft, almost musical. Marcus looked up to see a young female standing beside his table. She was humanoid, but clearly not human. Her skin had a faint purple tint, like twilight on Earth. Her eyes were larger than a human's, with irises that shifted between violet and silver, depending on the angle of the light. Long white hair fell past her shoulders, and she wore a simple gray cloak that had seen better days. "I'm busy," Marcus said, turning back to his drink. "Please, I know you have a ship. I saw you come from the docking bay. I need passage." Marcus sighed. "Look, kid, I'm not taking passengers right now. My ship needs repairs, and even if it didn't, I'm a cargo hauler, not a taxi service." The girl moved closer, and Marcus noticed how thin she was. Her cloak hung loose on her frame, and there were dark circles under those strange, beautiful eyes. "I can pay," she said quietly. "Oh, yeah?" Marcus couldn't help but laugh. "You don't look like you could afford a meal, let alone passage across the galaxy." She flinched at his words, but stood her ground. "I need to reach the outer colonies. System Delta 4, it's urgent. That's 3 weeks through contested space. Pirates, raiders, and worse. Even if I was heading that direction, which I'm not, the fuel alone would cost 20,000 credits, she finished for him. "I know the rates." Marcus studied her more carefully. Despite her worn appearance, she carried herself with a strange dignity. There was something in her eyes, a desperation mixed with determination that he recognized. He'd seen it in refugees before, people running from something terrible. "What's your name?" he asked. "Lyra. Lyra Than." "Well, Lyra, unless you've got 20,000 credits hidden in that cloak, we don't have anything to discuss." She was quiet for a long moment, then spoke so softly he almost missed it. "I have something else to offer." Marcus raised an eyebrow. "I don't deal in stolen goods or contraband." "No, not that." She pulled her cloak tighter around herself. "I offer myself." The bar seemed to go quiet around them. Marcus set down his glass carefully. "Come again?" "In my culture, when someone has nothing else, they can offer a life debt. 1 year of service for passage. I would be yours to command, cooking, cleaning, maintenance, whatever you need. After 1 year, the debt is paid." Marcus stared at her. "You're talking about slavery." "No!" She shook her head quickly. "Not slavery. A contract, voluntary, with rules and limits. It's an ancient tradition among my people when someone is desperate. I would retain my rights, my dignity, but my labor would be yours for the agreed time." "Kid, I don't know what kind of backward planet you come from, but humans don't do that anymore. We had a whole war about it a few centuries back." "I'm not asking you to buy me," Lyra said, frustration creeping into her voice. "I'm asking you to help me. This is the only currency I have left." Marcus rubbed his face with both hands. The smart thing would be to walk away. He had enough problems without adding a desperate alien girl to the mix. But something about her reminded him of his sister, years ago, when she'd shown up at his door with bruises and a black eye, begging for help to escape her abusive partner. "Why Delta 4? He asked. "What's so important that you'd sell yourself into servitude?" Lyra's shoulders sagged. "My younger brother. He's sick. There's a specialist there, the only one who can treat his condition. But the transport company canceled our passage when we couldn't pay up front. Every day I wait, he gets worse." Where is he now? In the station's medical bay. They're keeping him stable, but without proper treatment. She didn't finish the sentence. Marcus stood up, towering over her slight frame. Show me. Hope flickered in her eyes. You'll help? I want to see your brother first. Then we'll talk. The medical bay was exactly as depressing as Marcus expected. Rows of beds filled with the sick and injured who couldn't afford better care. The air smelled of disinfectant and despair. Lyra led him to a corner bed where a small figure lay connected to various machines. The boy couldn't have been more than 10 years old in human terms. He had the same purple-tinted skin as his sister, but looked gray and washed out. His breathing was labored, and occasionally his whole body would twitch with some kind of spasm. Neural degradation syndrome, Lyra said quietly. It's genetic in our species. 1 in 10,000 develop it. The specialist in Delta 4 has developed a treatment, but it has to be administered before the condition advances too far. Marcus watched the readouts on the medical equipment. He didn't understand most of it, but he could see the declining patterns. How long does he have? 6 weeks, maybe less. 3 weeks to Delta 4, if everything went perfectly. No delays, no complications. It would be cutting it close. What happened to your parents? Marcus asked. Dead. Pirates raided our colony 2 years ago. I've been taking care of Kai ever since. She gently brushed the boy's hair from his forehead. He's all I have left. Marcus had a rule about not getting involved in other people's problems. It was a good rule. It had kept him alive and in business for 15 years. But rules were meant to be broken, and the way Lyra looked at her brother made something twist in his chest. 1 year of service, he said slowly. What exactly does that mean in your culture? Lyra turned to face him, hope and fear warring in her expression. I would work for you. Any legitimate task you require. Maintenance, cargo handling, navigation assistance. I'm educated. I can read star charts, basic engineering, even some medical training. For 1 year, my skills are yours. After that, the debt is paid and I'm free to go. And if I asked you to do something illegal or dangerous, the contract has limits. Nothing illegal by Galactic Council law. Nothing that would permanently harm me, and... She hesitated. Nothing intimate. That's not part of the bargain. Marcus nodded. At least she had some sense of self-preservation. What makes you think you can trust me? For all you know, I could take you into space and dump you out an airlock. You stayed to see Kai, she said simply. A man who would do that wouldn't care about a sick child. The kid had a point. Marcus looked at the boy again, then at Lyra. He thought about his empty cargo hold, his broken ship, and his even more broken bank account. Then he thought about his sister, safe now on Mars with her kids, alive because he'd helped when she needed it. I need to think about it, he said. Meet me at Docking Bay 47 tomorrow morning, 6 a.m. sharp. Bring your brother and whatever possessions you have. You'll take us? The hope in her voice was almost painful to hear. I'll take you to Delta 4, Marcus clarified. We'll figure out the rest on the way, but understand this. If you're lying to me, if this is some kind of scam, or if you bring trouble to my ship, I'll drop you at the nearest station and you can find your own way. I understand. Thank you, Captain. Thank you so much. She reached out as if to take his hand, then seemed to think better of it. Marcus turned and walked away before he could change his mind. He had a lot to think about and preparations to make. Back at his ship, Marcus sat in the pilot's chair and stared out at the stars. The Wanderer's fortune was old but solid, built in the Earth shipyards before the company went under. She'd carried him through pirate attacks, asteroid fields, and more close calls than he cared to remember. Now, she'd carry 2 desperate aliens across dangerous space. He pulled up the navigation charts for Delta 4. The direct route would take them through 3 systems known for pirate activity. The safer path would add a week to the journey, time the boy didn't have. Marcus started calculating fuel consumption, supply needs, and the dozen other factors that went into a long voyage. His comm unit beeped. A message from the dockmaster about his overdue berthing fees. Another problem to add to the pile, but somehow the prospect of having crew again, even under these strange circumstances, made the challenges seem more manageable. Marcus had been alone on the ship for 2 years, ever since his last partner decided to retire to a nice, quiet colony. The solitude had been peaceful at first, then gradually oppressive. Maybe having someone to talk to wouldn't be the worst thing, even if that someone was an alien girl who thought indentured servitude was a reasonable solution to her problems. He started making a list of supplies they'd need, food for 3, including whatever dietary requirements Lyra's species had. Medical supplies for the boy. Extra water recycler filters because the current ones were pushing their limits. The costs added up quickly, eating into his already meager reserves. But Marcus had made his decision, and he'd stick to it. Tomorrow, his quiet, solitary life would change dramatically. He just hoped he wouldn't regret it. As the station lights dimmed to simulate night cycle, Marcus prepared the spare quarters that had been storage space for too long. He cleared out boxes of parts and supplies, fixed the stuck ventilation panel, and even found some old blankets in a storage locker. The room was small, barely big enough for 2 bunks and a tiny washroom, but it would do. He set up a medical monitoring station for the boy, jerry-rigging connections to the ship's main computer so they could track his condition during the journey. While he worked, Marcus thought about the strange turn his life had taken. This morning, he'd been worried about repair costs and cargo contracts. Now he was preparing to take on an indentured servant and her dying brother on a dangerous journey across the galaxy. His grandmother would have called it fate. Marcus didn't believe in fate, but he did believe in doing the right thing when the opportunity presented itself. And leaving a kid to die when he could help wasn't something he could live with. The ship's computer chimed, reminding him to take his scheduled rest period. Marcus ignored it and continued preparing. There would be time to sleep later. Right now, he had a ship to ready and a journey to plan. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new responsibilities. But for the first time in months, Marcus felt a sense of purpose beyond simple survival. It wasn't much, but it was enough. He sealed the last storage container and headed to his own quarters. 6 a.m. would come quickly, and he wanted to be ready when his new passengers arrived. As he lay in his bunk, Marcus wondered what he'd gotten himself into. The stars outside his window offered no answers, only the vast indifference of space. But somewhere among those stars was Delta 4, and a specialist who might save a young boy's life. That made the risk worth taking. The morning came too quickly. Marcus stood at the entrance to Docking Bay 47, watching the station come alive with the morning shift. Workers hurried past, traders opened their stalls, and the endless dance of commerce continued. He checked his chronometer. 5:58 a.m. At exactly 6 GE, he saw them. Lyra pushed a hovering medical chair with her brother strapped in, covered in blankets. She carried 2 small bags, presumably everything they owned. The sight made something tighten in Marcus's chest. "Captain Chen," she said formally, stopping a respectful distance away. "We're ready." Marcus looked at the boy. Kai seemed worse than yesterday, his breathing more labored. "Let's get him aboard. The medical bay is prepared." They moved quickly through the boarding procedures. Marcus had already filed the flight plan, listing Lyra as crew under a cultural exchange provision. It was technically true and avoided awkward questions about their arrangement. Inside the ship, Lyra's eyes widened slightly. The Wanderer's fortune wasn't pretty, but she was clean and well-maintained. Marcus took pride in that. "Your quarters are down that corridor," he said, pointing. "Get your brother settled, then meet me in the cockpit. We launch in 30 minutes. Lyra nodded and carefully guided her brother's chair toward the rooms. Marcus headed to the bridge, running through pre-flight checks. The repairs he couldn't afford would have to wait. The ship would hold together for one more run. She had to. 20 minutes later, Lyra appeared in the cockpit doorway. She'd changed into practical work clothes, probably the only other outfit she owned, and tied her white hair back. "Kai is stable," she reported. "The medical systems you set up are working perfectly. Thank you." "Take that seat," Marcus indicated the co-pilot's position. "Ever been in a cockpit before?" "A few times. My father was a pilot." She settled into the seat carefully, as if afraid she might break something. "Good. Then you know to keep quiet during launch unless there's an emergency." Marcus focused on the controls, guiding the ship through the departure sequence. The station's docking clamps released, and they drifted free. The sublight engines engaged with a familiar rumble, pushing them away from Kepler Station. As they cleared the station's traffic zone, Marcus engaged the jump drive. The stars elongated into streams of light, and they were on their way. 3 weeks, he said, leaning back in his chair. "If everything goes perfectly," which it never does. Lyra was staring out the view screen at the light show of hyperspace. "It's beautiful. I've only done a few jumps before, and never from the cockpit." "You'll get tired of it soon enough." Marcus pulled up a schedule on his console. "Now, about this arrangement of ours. I run a tight ship. Work shifts are 8 hours, rest periods are 8 hours, and the remaining 8 are yours to do as you please. You'll start with basic maintenance and cargo bay organization." "I understand." "Meals are at 0700, 1300, and 1900 hours. I cook, you clean. Once I trust you know your way around, we'll share cooking duties." "Yes, Captain." "Questions?" Lyra hesitated. "What are the rules? I mean, beyond work duties. What am I allowed to do? Where can I go?" Marcus turned to look at her. "This isn't a prison. You can go anywhere on the ship except my private quarters. Use any of the common areas. The entertainment system has books, music, games. Whatever you need to pass the time. Just don't touch the navigation or engineering systems without permission." "That's very generous." "It's practical. We're stuck together for 3 weeks minimum. Might as well be civilized about it." He stood up. "Come on. I'll give you the tour." Marcus showed her through the ship methodically. The small galley where they'd take their meals. The cargo bay, currently empty except for some secured containers. The engineering section, where the hyperdrive hummed steadily. The recreation room with its worn furniture and ancient entertainment system. "This is nicer than I expected," Lyra said, running her hand along the rec room couch. "You thought I'd have you sleeping in the cargo bay?" She shrugged. "Some captains would." "Well, I'm not some captains." Marcus led her back toward the living quarters. "Your brother's medical feed is routed to screens in the galley, rec room, and cockpit. You can check on him from anywhere." "Why are you being so kind to us?" The question caught Marcus off guard. He stopped walking and turned to face her. "I'm not being kind. This is business. You work, I provide passage. Simple as that." Lyra studied his face with those color-shifting eyes. "If you say so, Captain." The first few days established their routine. Lyra woke early, checked on Kai, then reported for duty. She was a quick learner, following Marcus's instructions precisely. She cleaned areas of the ship that hadn't been touched in months, organized the chaos in the cargo bay, and even helped with minor repairs. Marcus found himself impressed despite his determination to keep things professional. She never complained, never slacked off, and showed an aptitude for mechanical work that surprised him. On the 4th day, an alarm woke them in the middle of the night cycle. Marcus rushed to the cockpit to find warning lights flashing across his console. "What is it?" Lyra appeared beside him, alert despite being woken from sleep. "Proximity alert. We're being pulled out of hyperspace." Marcus's fingers flew over the controls. "Strap in. This could be rough." The ship shuddered as it dropped back into normal space. Marcus scanned the sensors and cursed. 3 ships in attack formation, weapons powered. Pirates? Lyra asked, her voice steady. Worse, salvagers. They disable ships, strip them for parts, and leave the crew floating in escape pods. If they're feeling generous. The lead ship hailed them. Marcus opened the channel, and a scarred human face appeared on the screen. Cargo vessel, cut your engines and prepare to be boarded. Cooperate, and you might live. I'm running empty, Marcus replied. Check your scans. No cargo worth your time. Your ship parts are worth plenty, and I'm sure we can find some value in your passenger. The pirate's leer made Marcus's skin crawl. He cut the channel and turned to Lyra. Can you pilot? Basic maneuvers only. Good enough. Take the stick. When I give the word, full power to engines and dive toward that asteroid field. He pointed at the navigation display. What are you going to do? Something stupid. Marcus headed for the door. Remember on my signal. He ran to engineering, pulling up systems he hadn't used in years. The Wanderer's fortune had been a military scout before being decommissioned. Most of her weapons had been removed, but the electronic warfare suite was still there, just disabled to comply with civilian regulations. Marcus started flipping switches, bypassing safety protocols. The salvagers wouldn't expect a cargo hauler to have military-grade jammers. He just needed 30 seconds. Captain, they're charging weapons, Lyra's voice came over the comm. Almost there. The system came online with a whine. Now! Full burn! The ship lurched as Lyra engaged the engines. At the same moment, Marcus activated the jammer. The salvager ship's targeting systems would be blind for maybe a minute, no more. He raced back to the cockpit, taking over from Lyra. The asteroid field loomed ahead, a deadly maze of tumbling rocks. Behind them, the salvagers fired blindly, their shots going wide. Hold on, Marcus warned, then dove into the field. The next few minutes were controlled chaos. Marcus wove between asteroids, using them as shields. The salvagers followed, but they were bigger, less maneuverable. One clipped an asteroid and spun away, damaged. Behind us! Lyra called out. Marcus saw it. One salvager had gotten lucky, lining up a shot. He grabbed Lyra's hand and placed it on a control. When I say, press this and hold for 3 seconds. He waited, watching the salvagers approach. At the last second, he yanked the ship into a sharp turn. Now! Lyra pressed the button. The cargo bay doors opened, releasing the containers Marcus had secured there. They tumbled into space directly in the salvager's path. The enemy ship, committed to its attack run, couldn't avoid them. The collision sent it spinning into an asteroid with a satisfying crunch. The last salvager, seeing 2 of his companions disabled, decided easier prey existed elsewhere. He peeled off and jumped to hyperspace. Marcus guided them out of the asteroid field and ran a full diagnostic. Minor hull damage, some systems stressed, but they were intact. That was incredible, Lyra breathed. I've never seen flying like that. Former military, Marcus admitted. Some skills you don't forget. The containers you dropped, weren't they valuable? Empty. I keep a few for exactly this purpose. He turned to look at her. You did good. Kept your head, followed orders. Not everyone can do that under fire. Lyra's purple skin darkened slightly, maybe their version of a blush. I was terrified. So was I. Fear keeps you sharp. It's panic that kills you. They sat in comfortable silence as the ship's systems cooled down. Finally, Lyra spoke. Why did you really help us? Marcus considered his answer. My sister was in trouble once. Someone helped her when they didn't have to. Guess I'm paying it forward. Your culture has a concept similar to life debt, Lyra observed. Obligation passing from one person to another. Maybe. Or maybe I just don't like seeing kids suffer when I can do something about it. Lyra smiled, the first genuine smile he'd seen from her. It transformed her face, making her look younger, less burdened. "I should check on Kai," she said, standing. "Lyra." She turned back. "After that performance, I think you've earned the right to call me Marcus. At least when we're off duty." Her smile widened. "Thank you, Marcus." The next week passed more smoothly. They fell into an easy rhythm, working together with growing efficiency. Lyra proved to be excellent company, intelligent, curious about human culture, and possessing a dry sense of humor that caught Marcus by surprise. She told him about her homeworld, a small colony on the edge of settled space. Her people, the Alterans, were recent additions to the galactic community, still finding their place among the older species. "We have a saying," she explained over dinner one night. "A debt freely given is a gift to both. It means that when someone chooses to help another, both benefit. The helped receives aid, but the helper receives purpose." "Sounds like something my grandmother would say," Marcus replied. She was full of old Earth wisdom. "Cast your bread upon the waters," that kind of thing. "What does that mean?" "Do good without expecting returns, and good will come back to you eventually." Lyra considered this. "Your people and mine are not so different." They were passing through the neutral zone when Kai took a turn for the worse. Marcus woke to find Lyra in the medical bay, holding her brother's hand as alarms beeped. "His neural degradation is accelerating," she said without looking up. "The medication isn't helping anymore." Marcus checked the readings. The boy's vitals were erratic, his brain activity showing dangerous spikes. "How long?" "At this rate, 2 weeks, maybe less. We're still 10 days from Delta 4. Lyra's composure finally cracked. Tears ran down her face as she stroked her brother's hair. "I failed him. I promised our parents I'd take care of him." Marcus put a hand on her shoulder. "You haven't failed. We're going to get him there." "How?" "Even if we push the engines, we can't make up that much time." Marcus stared at the star chart on the wall. The direct route through pirate space would save them 5 days. It was dangerous, potentially suicidal, but... "Yes, we can," he said firmly. "Strap your brother in good, we're changing course." "Marcus, no. The pirates are a risk. Your brother dying is a certainty. I know which odds I prefer." Lyra stood, wiping her tears. "This isn't your fight. You've already done more than—" "It became my fight the moment you stepped on my ship," Marcus interrupted. "Now stop arguing and help me plot a new course." They worked side by side in the cockpit, calculating the most direct route through dangerous space. It would take them through 3 systems known for heavy pirate activity, but it would also get them to Delta 4 with days to spare. "Why?" Lyra asked quietly as they finished the calculations. "Why risk your ship, your life, for us?" Marcus was quiet for a long moment. 20 years ago, I was a scared kid on a colony world. Pirates hit us hard. My family was trapped in a collapsed building. A passing trader could have kept flying, minded his own business. Instead, he landed in the middle of a firefight and pulled us out. Lost his arm doing it." He turned to face her. "He told me something I've never forgotten. Being human isn't about where you're from or what you look like. It's about choosing to help when you could walk away. Your brother needs help. I'm not walking away." Lyra's eyes shimmered with fresh tears, but these seemed different somehow. "Thank you," she whispered. "Save it for when we get him to that specialist," Marcus said gruffly. "Now, let's see what this old ship can do." He engaged the new course, pushing the engines harder than recommended. The Wanderer's fortune groaned but responded, jumping into hyperspace with renewed purpose. The dangerous route lived up to its reputation. They dodged 2 pirate patrols by hiding in the sensor shadow of a gas giant. Another time, they ran silent for 6 hours, while a raider fleet passed nearby. The stress was constant, but they pressed on. On the seventh day, they hit real trouble. A pirate corvette, faster and better armed than the usual rabble. It locked on to them before they could hide. "This is Captain Vex of the Blood Dawn," a harsh voice announced. "Surrender or be destroyed." Marcus looked at the tactical display. No asteroids to hide in, no tricks left to play. Just open space and a ship that outgunned them 3-1. "I'm sorry," he told Lyra. "I thought we could make it." Lyra stood, determination replacing despair on her face. "Let me talk to them." "What?" "My people have treaties with some of the pirate clans. It's a small chance, but—" Marcus shrugged. They had nothing to lose. He opened a channel. Lyra spoke in a language Marcus didn't recognize, her voice taking on an authoritative tone he'd never heard before. The pirate captain responded in the same language, sounding surprised. They went back and forth for several minutes. Finally, the pirate switched to common. "You should have said you carried Alteran nobility. Pass freely, but do not return this way." The corvette peeled off and jumped away. Marcus stared at Lyra. "Nobility?" She looked embarrassed. "My mother was a duchess. It means nothing now. Our world is gone, our title's empty, but some of the older pirates still honor the ancient treaties." "You're a princess?" "Was. Now I'm just Lyra, trying to save her brother." She managed a weak smile. "Does it matter?" Marcus laughed, surprising himself. "Not even a little bit. But next time, maybe mention the part where you can talk pirates out of killing us before I stress myself into an early grave." The last 3 days passed in a blur. Kai's condition stabilized slightly, buying them precious time. They dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Delta IV system with its distinctive binary stars. "There," Lyra pointed at the navigation display. "Mercy Station. The specialist works there." Marcus guided them in, ignoring the docking officer's comments about the state of his ship. As soon as they locked in, medical personnel swarmed aboard, taking charge of Kai. Lyra started to follow, then turned back to Marcus. "Come with me? This is your moment. I'll just—" "Please." She held out her hand. "I couldn't have made it without you." Marcus took her hand, surprised by how natural it felt. They followed the medical team to a state-of-the-art facility, so different from the dingy station medical bay where their journey began. Dr. Yaris, the specialist, was a tall, thin being with 4 arms and gentle eyes. He examined Kai thoroughly, then nodded. "We caught it in time. The treatment will take several days, but I expect full recovery." Lyra collapsed into a chair, all the tension of the past weeks hitting her at once. Marcus sat beside her as she cried, relief, exhaustion, and joy all mixed together. "Thank you," she managed between sobs. "Thank you for not giving up on us." "Hey," Marcus said softly. "We made a deal. I always honor my deals." She looked up at him with those remarkable eyes. "About that deal? We'll figure it out later. Right now, your brother needs you." He stood to leave, but she caught his hand again. "Stay? Please. I don't want to be alone right now." Marcus sat back down. They waited together as Kai was prepped for treatment, not speaking, just drawing comfort from each other's presence. For the first time in years, Marcus didn't feel alone either. As the binary stars set through the observation window, painting the room in double shadows, Marcus reflected on the strange journey that had brought them here. He'd started with an empty cargo hold and a broken ship. Now he had something more valuable, a purpose, a connection, and maybe, just maybe, a future that included more than solo runs through empty space. The morning after Kai's first treatment, Marcus found Lyra asleep in the hospital chair beside her brother's bed. She'd refused to leave his side, and the medical staff had eventually given up trying to convince her. Marcus draped his jacket over her shoulders and settled into the chair across from her. Kai looked better already. The gray pallor was fading, replaced by the healthy purple tint of Altair's skin. His breathing was steady, no more spasms racking his small frame. The monitors showed stable, improving readings. "Captain?" The boy's eyes fluttered open, focusing on Marcus with difficulty. His voice was weak but clear. "Hey, kid, how are you feeling?" "Tired, but better." Kai's gaze moved to his sleeping sister. "Lyra said you saved us, flew through pirate space and everything." "Your sister exaggerates. I just drove the bus." A small smile crossed the boy's face. "She also said you're teaching her to fix ships. Can you teach me too, when I'm better?" "Sure, if you want to learn, but that's up to your sister." "She likes you," Kai said with the devastating honesty of children. "She smiles now. She didn't smile much before." Marcus wasn't sure how to respond to that, but Lyra stirred, saving him from having to try. Her eyes opened, immediately checking on her brother. "Kai, you're awake!" She leaned forward, taking his hand. "Hi, Ly. I'm okay. Just tired." The siblings spoke quietly in their own language for a few minutes. Marcus started to leave, giving them privacy, but Kai called out. "Captain Marcus? Thank you. Lyra says I have to get better fast so I can start earning my keep on your ship." Marcus and Lyra exchanged glances. They hadn't discussed what would happen after Kai recovered. The life debt hung between them, unspoken but present. "Just focus on getting better," Marcus said. "We'll figure out the rest later." Dr. Yaris entered, all 4 arms carrying various medical instruments. "Ah, our patient is awake. Excellent. Young man, you're responding even better than I hoped. 2 more treatments and you'll be ready to conquer the galaxy." As the doctor began his examination, Marcus and Lyra stepped into the hallway. "I need to check on the ship," Marcus said. "You should get some real rest. There's a decent hotel next to the dock." "I can't leave him." "Lyra, you're exhausted. You're no good to him if you collapse. I'll stay with Kai." She hesitated, duty warring with exhaustion. "You've done so much already. And I'm offering to do a little more. Go. Sleep in a real bed. Take a hot shower. Eat something that doesn't come from a ship's processor." Her shoulders sagged in defeat. "A few hours, that's all." Marcus handed her a credit chip. "For the room and food. And before you argue, consider it an advance on your wages. Even indentured servants get paid something." She took the chip reluctantly. "I'll pay you back." "I know you will. Now go before I have the doctor sedate you too." After she left, Marcus settled back into the chair beside Kai's bed. The boy dozed fitfully, occasionally waking to ask questions about the ship, about Earth, about the stars. Marcus answered them all patiently, remembering his own childhood curiosity about the universe. "Are you going to marry my sister?" Kai asked during one of his wakeful periods. Marcus nearly choked on the water he was drinking. "What? No? Why would you ask that?" "She offered herself as payment. In the old stories, that usually means marriage. Your sister offered to work for me. Nothing more. It's a business arrangement." Kai gave him a look far too knowing for his age. "If you say so." The next few days fell into a pattern. Lyra and Marcus took turns sitting with Kai during his treatments. When they were together, they talked about inconsequential things: ship maintenance, trade routes, the differences between human and Altaran food. Neither mentioned the life debt or what would happen when Kai was fully recovered. On the 4th day, Marcus was returning from a supply run when he overheard voices from Kai's room. "Should tell him," Kai was saying. "There's nothing to tell," Lyra replied. "You like him. He likes you. Even I can see it, and I'm just a kid." "It's not that simple, Kai. I owe him a debt. Anything between us would be complicated. So make it uncomplicated. Tell him how you feel." "And if he doesn't feel the same, we'd still be trapped on his ship for a year. It would be unbearable." Marcus backed away quietly, his mind churning. He'd been trying very hard not to think about Lyra in those terms. She was under his protection, bound by obligation. Any feelings he might have were irrelevant until that debt was cleared. But he couldn't deny she'd gotten under his skin. Her determination, her loyalty to her brother, the way she hummed while working on repairs, how her eyes lit up when she mastered a new skill. All of it had worn down his defenses. That evening, Dr. Yaris delivered the news they'd been waiting for. One more treatment tomorrow, and young Kai will be completely cured. He'll need to take medication for a few months as a precaution, but the neural degradation is reversed. Lyra hugged her brother tightly, tears of joy streaming down her face. Marcus felt a matching warmth in his chest, along with a growing dread. Tomorrow, Kai would be cured. Then they'd have to face the reality of their arrangement. That night, Marcus found Lyra on the station's observation deck, staring out at the binary stars. Delta IV's twin suns created a spectacular light show, painting the space between them in ribbons of gold and crimson. "Couldn't sleep?" he asked, joining her at the railing. "Too much to think about?" She glanced at him sideways. "Tomorrow changes everything?" "Your brother will be healthy. That's what matters." "Yes?" She was quiet for a moment. "Marcus, about our arrangement?" "We should talk about that." He took a breath. "Lyra, I've been thinking. The life debt, it's not right. Not for humans. I can't have you working for me under duress." Her expression fell. "You're sending us away?" "No, I mean not unless you want to go. What I'm saying is—" He ran a hand through his hair, frustrated with his inability to find the right words. "I'm releasing you from the debt. As of tomorrow, you're free. No obligations, no service, nothing." Lyra turned to face him fully. "You would do that? After everything?" "It's the right thing to do. You needed help. I provided it. That doesn't mean you owe me a year of your life." "And if I want to stay?" The question hung in the air between them. Marcus's heart beat faster. "Then you stay. As crew, not a servant. Equal partners. I could use a good engineer, and you've proven you have the skills." "Equal partners," Lyra repeated softly. "And Kai?" "Ships need cabin boys. He can learn the trade, help with light duties when he's stronger. I'll pay you both fair wages." Lyra was quiet for so long, Marcus wondered if he'd misread the situation entirely. Then she spoke, her voice barely above a whisper. "In my culture, when a life debt is freely forgiven, it transforms. It becomes something else." "What does it become?" She moved closer, close enough that he could see the stars reflected in her eyes. "A choice. The person can leave with honor, or they can stay with what? With affection, with hope for something more." Marcus's hand found hers. "And which do you choose?" "I choose to stay, but not as your engineer." She squeezed his hand. "I want to be your partner in all things, if you'll have me." "Lyra, are you sure? You don't owe me anything. I don't want you to feel obligated." She silenced him by pressing a finger to his lips. "This isn't about obligation. This is about the man who risked everything for strangers, who gave us hope when we had none, who treats my brother like family and me like an equal. I'm choosing you, Marcus Chen. The question is, do you choose me?" Marcus answered by pulling her into his arms. Their first kiss was tentative, exploring the possibility between them. When they parted, both were smiling. "I should warn you," Marcus said. "Life on a cargo ship isn't glamorous. Long hours, dangerous runs, and the food is terrible." "I should warn you," Lyra countered. "Alterans mate for life. Once we choose, we don't let go easily." "I think I can live with that." They stood together watching the binary stars dance, no longer captain and indentured servant, but partners charting a new course. The next morning, Kai's final treatment went perfectly. By afternoon, he was sitting up, eating solid food and pestering everyone with questions. When Marcus and Lyra told him about their new arrangement, he grinned. "I knew it. Does this mean I get to call you Uncle Marcus now?" "Let's start with just Marcus and see how it goes," Marcus replied, ruffling the boy's hair. 3 days later, they were ready to leave. Kai was strong enough to travel, and the Wanderer's fortune was restocked and refueled. As they prepared for departure, Dr. Yaris pulled Marcus aside. "I wanted to thank you," the doctor said. "Not many would have risked what you did to get them here in time." It was the right thing to do. Perhaps, but the right thing and the easy thing are rarely the same. The doctor handed him a data pad. "I've taken the liberty of providing some contacts. Medical stations that need reliable transport for supplies. The pay is good and the work is steady." Marcus looked at the list. It was more than contacts. It was a new beginning. "Thank you, Doctor. Take care of them, Captain. Families like that are rare in this galaxy." As they boarded the ship, Marcus felt the rightness of it. The Wanderer's fortune had been too quiet with just him. Now Kai's excited chatter filled the corridors as Lyra showed him his new quarters. The ship felt alive again. "Captain," Lyra called from the cockpit. "Ready for departure when you are." Marcus took his seat, Lyra beside him in the co-pilot's chair. Kai sat in the observer's seat, eyes wide with wonder. "Where to?" Lyra asked. Marcus pulled up the navigation charts. "Dr. Yaris gave us some leads. Medical supply runs, mostly. Steady work, good cause." He looked at her. "What do you think, partner?" "I think it sounds perfect." She began plotting the course with practiced ease. As the ship prepared to jump, Kai piped up. "Are we going to have more adventures?" "Probably," Marcus admitted. "Space is full of surprises." "Good. I want to see everything." Marcus laughed. "Then you're on the right ship, kid." The stars elongated as they entered hyperspace, but this time Marcus wasn't watching them alone. Lyra's hand found his across the console. In the reflection of the view screen, he could see Kai's face bright with wonder. 6 months later, the Wanderer's fortune docked at Bremen Station. The ship looked different now, cleaner, better maintained, with new armor plating courtesy of their profitable medical runs. But the biggest changes were inside. Kai had grown 2 inches and filled out considerably. He wore a junior crew uniform with pride and had become surprisingly adept at navigation calculations. His illness was a memory, replaced by boundless energy and curiosity. Lyra had transformed from desperate refugee to confident spacer. She'd rebuilt half the ship's systems, improving efficiency by 30%. But more than that, she'd made the cold metal halls into a home. Marcus watched his family, and that's what they were now, family, prepare for shore leave. They moved with the easy coordination of people who knew each other well, who had faced danger together and come out stronger. "Uncle Marcus!" Kai called. He'd never dropped the uncle part, despite Marcus's protests. "Are you coming? Lyra says there's a festival in the merchant district." "In a minute. Just need to file the manifest." Lyra appeared at his elbow. "The manifest can wait. Come on, Captain. All work and no play." "Makes for a wealthy retirement?" he suggested. "Makes for a dull life." She kissed his cheek. "Besides, when was the last time you actually took shore leave?" Marcus considered. Before Lyra and Kai, he'd rarely left the ship except for business. Now he had reasons to explore, to experience, to live beyond mere survival. "You're right," he said, shutting down the console. "Let's go see this festival." As they walked through the station, Marcus reflected on how much had changed since that night in the grimy bar on Kepler Station. He'd thought he was doing Lyra a favor, giving her passage in exchange for service. Instead, she'd given him something far more valuable, a reason to be more than just another lonely spacer drifting through the void. "Marcus?" Lyra's voice brought him back to the present. You're thinking too hard again? Just remembering. A year ago, I was drinking alone, wondering how to pay for repairs. And now? He gestured at their small group. Kai was darting between vendor stalls, examining everything with scientific interest. Lyra walked beside him, her hand in his, belonging there as naturally as stars belonged in space. Now I have everything I never knew I wanted, she squeezed his hand. No regrets about taking on a desperate alien girl? Best decision I ever made, even if she did come with a kid brother who asks more questions than a university professor. Hey, Kai protested, having circled back to them. My questions are educational. You said so yourself. That was before you asked me to explain quantum mechanics while I was trying to repair the hyperdrive. They laughed, the sound mixing with the festival music and the chatter of a dozen species. As they moved through the crowd, Marcus noticed other humans watching them, some with curiosity, others with disapproval at the mixed species family. He didn't care. Let them stare. He'd learned something important from Lyra and Kai. Family wasn't about species or blood or even culture. It was about choosing to stand together, to face the universe as one unit rather than alone. The festival was a riot of colors, sounds, and smells. They tried foods from 6 different worlds, watched street performers juggle flames and plasma, and bought small trinkets that would clutter the ship's common areas. It was wasteful, impractical, and absolutely perfect. As the station's lights dimmed to evening cycle, they found themselves back at the docking bay. The Wanderer's fortune waited, ready for the next journey. Home, Kai said with satisfaction. Home, Lyra agreed. Marcus palmed open the hatch, and they boarded together. Tomorrow would bring new cargo, new destinations, new challenges. But tonight, they were just a family returning to their ship after a good day. Later, as the ship floated in the dock, Marcus stood in the cockpit looking at the stars. Lyra joined him, wrapping her arms around him from behind. What are you thinking about? She asked. The future. Kai will need proper schooling soon, and the ship could use real upgrades, not just patches. Big plans. Maybe. Or maybe we just keep doing what we're doing, flying cargo, helping people when we can, staying together. I like that plan. She rested her head against his shoulder. Marcus, that first day when I offered the life debt, did you know it would lead to this? Not even close. I just knew I couldn't leave you behind. The human thing again? Helping when you could walk away? Marcus turned to face her. Maybe. Or maybe I recognized something in you. A survivor. Someone who wouldn't give up. Someone worth taking a chance on. And now? Now I can't imagine any other life. They stood together in comfortable silence, watching stars drift past. Somewhere in the ship, Kai was probably tinkering with something he shouldn't be. Tomorrow they'd have to deal with whatever he'd modified. But that was tomorrow's problem. Tonight, Marcus had everything. A ship that ran smoothly, work that mattered, and a family born not of obligation, but of choice. The alien girl who'd needed a seat on his spaceship had offered herself as payment. Instead, she'd given him a life worth living. The stars continued their eternal dance, indifferent to the small dramas of the beings who traveled among them. But on one small ship, 3 lives had intertwined to create something larger than the sum of their parts. A human, an Alteran woman, and an Alteran boy, proving that family could be found in the most unexpected places, and in the vast emptiness of space. That was the most human thing of all.